Hello, guys. I think that we are online, and we can start with our next protest, which is again virtual. This Corona times brings us a very good opportunity to meet people over the world. So for me, it's a really great pleasure to welcome Andrei Solntsev, who is author of framework Selenide. We are using Selenide in our company, so we are pretty much aware that this is really useful tool for us. And I'm really happy that we can talk with Andrei. Andrei, you are frankly the first person who I know who created some framework. So you are the first live example that this is not some plot of big companies, and frameworks really happen to appear between people and developers. Andrei prepared for us a short presentation. We also can ask questions on Slido. You can find a link on Slido on our Slack or on Meetup. And because we are happy to try this time YouTube, but we are aware that sometimes there can be some troubles. So if in case of some problems with live streaming, please look at Meetup and there will be link directly to Zoom. So wish us luck, because now we are in connection with Tallinn. Andrei, it's yours.
Yeah, hi. My name is Andrei Solntsev. Oh, I will need to share my screen. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, good evening to everybody. My name is Andrei Solntsev, and I'm going to talk about Selenide, an open source library for writing QA tests. I came from Tallinn. Literally, I am in Tallinn. This is the capital of Great Estonia. And I will show some more pictures from Estonia in my presentation, just to have nice pictures. So our plan for today is, first of all, I will show some short introduction to Selenide, just short overview of some features. I will explain how Selenide is compared to Selenium and a few other frameworks. I will show some examples of mobile testing, how to use Selenide in mobile, and probably some advanced tricks we'll see if we have time. And the most important part, we don't have conference, now we have Meetup, so feel free to ask your questions at any moment. I will try to track this site slightly and answer your questions as soon as possible. So feel free to ask any questions, no problems. You can interrupt me at any moment. So yeah, let's start with Selenide. Selenide is free. Selenide is free and open source library, which gives you a concise API to write automated UI tests for web tests or mobile tests. And important part, it allows you to write stable tests, which do not fail too often. This is short info. We have a site, selenide.org. We have a GitHub account, of course, and we have a github.com/selenide. It's the main account. And we also have Selenide examples. It's an organization in GitHub where we have a lot of different examples. And Twitter handle jselenide is also exists, so you can read it, follow it. Briefly speaking, what is Selenide? It's a short syntax for writing UI tests. How does a simple Selenide test look like? As you can see, it's very short. The most beautiful part that you do not need to initialize any web drivers. You do not need to download some WebDriver binaries. We don't need to call some page factories and so on and so on. It's really simple. To open a browser, you just need to call method surprise, surprise, open. That's it. Browser is opened. Then to find some elements, you can use method door. By name, by class, and so on, by in selectors. And when you found the element, you can call any methods on it, like click, press keys, set value, select options from select box, and so on and so on. Yeah, you can also click, as we see. And the last and the most important part in test is checks. You can check pretty much everything that can be with web element. Kind of, you can check that it has some text, some class, some enabled, disabled, some options, and so on. So the main point is it's really concise, short, and readable syntax. This is why I like Selenide. Probably let me demonstrate it. Let's create a new project. Can you see my code?
We can.
Great. Let's just try to create a project from the scratch, and we will see how easy it is. This is my point. So this is an empty project. I hope IntelliJ can quickly import it. Okay, great. So we start creating new test. My favorite, the most simple one, is Google test. We can check that user can search pretty much anything in Google. Right? Oops. So as I said, first of all, open a browser. Yes, okay, open method is not found because we haven't imported Selenide into our project. Let's do it. Actually, test implementation is the right one. So in addition to JUnit, let's include Selenide. It's really easy. Just one line. Of course, I know it, but if you don't know it, it's always easy to find this information on site, selenide.org. We have quick start section here, and we have exactly this line to import. So instead of this one, we can use a little bit shorter option like this. It's just a matter of taste. Which one do you like? Now we press this magic button, which does a gradle import. Now we have this class in our class path, in our project. Now we can import Selenide to open exactly. Even now, you can start the test and we will see an opening browser. This is a magic. 1, 2, 3. Boom. It works. Now it's time to do something. So actually, to let me mention it once more, it's really amazing how fast and easy it is. In typical Selenium projects, you would need to download a driver binary to set it path and so on, to call page factory and so on. So it's time to find some element. I already know that its name is Q, by name Q, and we can set some value there. In pure Selenide, you can use method send keys. In Selenium, you can use method send keys, but in Selenide, you can also, in addition to send keys, can also use some other methods. For example, set value. It's almost the same, but with one difference. I will show it later. So let's try to find, for example, the word Selenide. And one beautiful part of Selenide syntax is that it is how it's called, Fluent API. So you can continue the same line. You can put dot here and continue and call some other methods, aim methods, click, whatever. But in this case, I often like, if this line goes too long, I often do like this, split this line to multiple lines. It's also kind of readable. It's nice. But in this case, we instead of click, we do want to press enter. Probably I need to explain. What I'm trying to do is put Selenide here and press enter. Like this. And how to press enter? In Selenide, one beautiful part is that you do not need to remember all the syntax, all the methods. You can use help of your integrated development environment, IntelliJ in this case. You can choose just put dot here and you see all possible methods. That's why you do not really need to read a lot of documentation or to remember something. Just put dot and you will see all methods that are possible. And the nice part is that I can start typing, for example, enter, if I don't remember the whole method name. And IntelliJ suggests me all possible methods that contain this word. So if I enter, if I enter, suggests me press enter. Great, it's okay. Now we can try to run it. Okay, press enter what? Oh, sorry, I will big fonts bigger, make font bigger. And now we can check the results. First of all, we can find the list of kind of results, search results. $2 returns a collection of elements. I do not know exactly the locator, so I will write something, kind of results list, probably div. And I want to check that it has, this collection has exactly 10 elements in the beginning, or 10. Let's execute. Let's execute this test. It will fail because this is a wrong selector. Yeah, it types Selenide inside, but then it fails because it was a wrong selector. And now you see how the error report looks like. When Selenide test fails, it tries to be as exact and as readable as possible. So it says exactly that list size mismatch, you expected 10 elements, that there was actually 0 elements. And here are some details, which selector I used, and so on, which elements it actually found. And also Selenide takes a screenshot automatically. We can always look at the screenshot. And it takes, saves HTML source of the page. And here we can look into it and find the right selector. Let me see where it is. It's a little bit slow now. So this is a magic every test automation engineer should know. Yeah. So it seems that I have found some good selector, kind of ID search. I can use it. It was ID search. What else? I see that we have one header, H1. It's a header which has text search results. Why not check it? Let's find the H1. Let's check that it has text search results. And search was a right selector. And let's find which selector can we use for every of these search results. Like this, we can find class G. Oh, this is G point. We have found G point. Great. So plus G is every single result of this search. And let's check that we have exactly 10 results. It seems that the test fails still. Why? Let's see. Because, yes, we do not have 10 results, but 9 results. And you see some details. It shows which results it actually found. It can be very helpful in some cases. So yeah, I just know that sometimes Google shows 10, sometimes 9, sometimes 5 results. So we do not really want to depend on that. But we can, again, use help of IDE and look what methods we have. For example, sites greater than 5 is probably fine. And this time the test will be green, I guess. Great, we have green test. Yoo-hoo! Okay, the first demo part is completed. Let me see if we have some additional questions. Here we don't have questions.
Actually, we have questions. Could you please refresh?
Okay, sure.
Could you please click on Q&A on the blue tab?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have several questions. Thank you. I will answer them. Can you, in the test, connect into database and check out some results there? Right now, so you can, of course. But right now, Selenide is a library for UI testing. So we can check the browser, check any web elements inside the browser. Right now, it does not cover testing of database. We actually had an idea of creating similar syntax for databases. So like, you know, like if we could write something similar, but something like this. And probably open like database and find some, you know, elements, kind of person. This is name of table, for example, and we can find persons with some ID or something like this. Yeah, and should exist, for example, you know, or should have count 100. Yeah, we have an idea of creating similar syntax, but not yet. We do not have such functions yet. But it's probably a good idea. Huh? Can I mark it as answered? Okay. This is maybe a more general question for Java. Can it be used to define keywords? Actually, I don't know what you mean. What means keywords? This term can mean pretty much everything. So I'm not sure. If you mean probably some data-driven testing, then yes, you can use data-driven testing in Selenium and Selenide. So you can specify a question later. I will read it. So is Selenide good to be used together with page object pattern? Thank you. It's a good question. Yes, you can use Selenide to use page object. We will see it later. So let's continue. I will show it in the next slides. Yeah. So the question is, why Selenide? Why do you use Selenide? Because we already have Selenium. And actually, I know really a lot of people who do not want to use Selenide because they already use Selenium. They can do it. They know all the troubles of Selenium. And so why another wrapper, they ask. And I will try to answer the questions. This question. The definition of Selenium says that Selenium is a tool for driving browser. Web driver means exactly for driving browser, meaning that this is a low-level tool for manipulating browser. It's not a tool for testing by definition. And the fact that a lot of people do use Selenium for testing creates a lot of troubles. We will see it later. And Selenide, by definition, is a library for testing. Selenide is created on top of Selenium. Selenide uses Selenium inside, but it's created for testing. It's much more convenient for testing. It's a kind of high-level library for testing. This is exactly the answer. And I will show in details so what's the difference. We have a lot of typical problems with UI tests, not only Selenium, with all UI tests, Ruby, Python, whatever tools, they all have the same typical problems. First of all, you need to write a lot of boilerplate code. You always have problems with Ajax or with any content which is loaded dynamically a little bit later with some delay. You always need to bother with some timeouts all the time. All this Selenium needs, Selenium requires you to write some boilerplate code or to take screenshots, to store the screenshots to some folders and so on. And the famous tail element exception, this is the biggest problem for everybody. If you use Selenium, then you probably need it. It's when some elements disappears from page. You found it, you start checking it, and it disappears unexpectedly. And why Selenide is great? It solves all these typical problems. This is a point of Selenide. With Selenide, you can forget about boilerplate code and Ajax problems and timeouts and so on and so on. Selenide does solve this problem out of the box. I like to say that you do not need to bother with technical details like timeouts and browsers and so on, and can concentrate on business logic. You can spend your time, your resources, your brain on solving real, meaningful problems, not just bother, just stupid timeouts. Yeah, so Selenide saves you time. First of all, when you write the code, I guess probably most of us actually spent on writing code probably 20% of our time, probably. And Selenide provides concise API for you to spend less time on writing the code. But probably the most important part, Selenide saves your time when you debug code. I guess most of us do read or debug code most of our time, probably 80% of our time. And Selenide does it by providing you smart weightings, so-called smart weightings. I will explain it in next slides. Let me show how Selenide solves boilerplate problems. Selenide provides concise API for writing tests. So I will compare just Selenide syntax and pure Selenium syntax. This is how you find some header in Selenide, and just for comparison, this is how you find the same element with pure Selenium. Much more coder, right? Next example, this is how we check that the element is visible. It's present on the page and is visible in Selenide, and similar code in Selenium. Boom! It's much more longer, right? The next example, this is my favorite one probably. This is how we need to check that element does not exist. In Selenide, you can just write should not exist. That's it, as simple as possible. It's pure English. And in Selenium, it's not easy. You need to write try catch. You need to not to forget to throw an exception if element was found. You need to catch this exception, and then you can think that the element does not exist. Much more code, complex code, and it's easy to make a mistake in this code, right? And this code also has one hidden problem. If you configure it implicit weights, then this block, for example, if implicit weight is configured to have 10 seconds, for example, then this block actually will work 10 seconds. It will try to find the element for 10 seconds and only then throw this exception. And this will be just a slow test. This is ugly for me. This is not acceptable for me. And Selenide does solve this problem much better. We will see. Exactly. The next slide is about weightings, how Selenide does solve weightings problems. Shortly, it's often needed that you want to wait for something in your test. For example, some page or some table is loaded a little bit slowly, or some status text is changed dynamically after some loading is completed, and you need to wait until this text is changed or until this table is loaded. How to wait for things in tests? Selenium suggests two ways to do it. First is implicit wait. Second is explicit wait. You probably are familiar with this thing. And Selenide suggests the third way, its own way. So implicit way is just poor. It's bad because it can only wait for one thing. It can only wait until element appears. But it cannot wait until element disappears, until element changes text, and so on and so on. So implicit wait is just poor. It can cause slow test, as I showed in the previous slide. The explicit wait is, in this sense, good. It waits for any condition that you wish, but it's verbose. You need to write a lot of code to explicitly wait something. And the Selenide way is just perfect. It can wait for anything. You can write any condition here, visible, text size, and so on. And it's short and it's readable. In this sense, it's perfect. So I showed how Selenide is compared to Selenium. Let me emphasize that I do not say that Selenide is better than Selenium. They are just not comparable. Selenium and Selenide are different tools for different purposes. Selenium is for driving browsers, Selenide for testing. They are just different. We need to understand it. And now let's compare Selenide to comparable things, to other frameworks. As I see it, we can split all testing frameworks or frameworks for UI tests to different categories. First of one is category reporting. This is my own classification, just to explain my thoughts to you. The third category, reporting. There are testing frameworks that which has the main focus on creating nice, beautiful reports. First of all, this is Allure reports. This is Serenity or Fukidid. This is Report Portal, for example, and probably much more. Very many frameworks have goal to create nice reports. Selenide is not in this category. Selenide does not try to create beautiful reports. It's not our goal. I believe that the report, which is generated by JUnit or TestNG or Gradle or Maven or Jenkins, is good enough. We do not need anything better. We do not need really beautiful reports. This is just bullshit for me. It's not needed really. The second category is BDD, behavior-driven development. There are many frameworks that focus on BDD. These are Cucumber, JBehave, Serenity, Akita framework, and probably many more. Selenide is not in this category. I personally think that BDD is a good idea, but it's not working in real life. It does not solve actual problems. It's a thing that BDD is sold pretty well. Big companies do buy BDD, but BDD actually doesn't solve any problems, at least in most cases, but it creates more problems actually. It's my personal opinion. Yeah. So Selenide does not try to create nice reports. Selenide does not try to create BDD development. What Selenide is? Selenide actually belongs to the last category for me. This is category of these are frameworks that try to allow you to create fast and stable and concise tests Selenide belongs to this category. I personally believe that this is the most important. This is much more important than BDDs and reportings and all this bullshit, machine learning and so on and so on. I believe that our test automation area really needs to have fast and stable tests. And Selenide tries to solve this problem, tries to achieve it. And I personally do not know any other frameworks that also do it. If you know, you can share it, no problems. And before I highlight some Selenide features, I probably will read some next questions. What you can say regarding comparison of Selenide and Cypress? Yeah, good question, thank you. Again, they are a little different tools. I like Cypress, I like the idea behind it. As much as I understand, Cypress is kind of more lightweight Selenium, or probably faster Selenium, probably easier to learn Selenium, and definitely easy to start. But Cypress does not solve all the problems that Selenide or Selenium solves. As long as I understand, Cypress is executed locally inside the browser, so we can run only in single thread. It probably the most important part, it cannot run browser remotely. So, the thing that very many companies actually use in Selenium / Selenide is remote browsers. They do run tests on Jenkins, and they want to run in parallel very many browsers. One Jenkins server cannot run many browsers in parallel. So they have some grid server, some probably remote servers, some services like Source Labs and Browser Stack, which can browsers for you remotely. As long as I understand, Cypress cannot do all these things. So if you do not need remote browsers, if you do not need grid of browsers, if you do not have too many of tests, then probably Cypress is good for you. No problems, I really like it. But if you have a lot of browsers, a lot of tests, you want to run in parallel remotely, then I understand Cypress doesn't okay for you, it doesn't suit for you. This is my understanding. Actually, I also heard from creators of Cypress that it was created more like for developers to kind of do development tests, something like that. I meant BDD keywords. This is a continuation of previous questions. Keyword navigate to Gmail functionality for it is written in Selenide. Actually, as I said, Selenide is not a BDD framework, but Selenide can be used with any other BDD frameworks. Selenide can be used with Serenity, with Cucumber, and so on and so on. If you go to GitHub page Selenide examples, we can find, for example, Selenide and Cucumber together. You can use them together. This is a working example. You can check out and run it, no problems. So, you know, I like the philosophy of Linux. We need to have small tools, every tool for each own purpose. So Selenide solve its problem, Cucumber or Serenity or Allure solve its problems. These are different problems, these are different tools, and we can combine them, can use them together. No problems. Actually, yeah, we have some Cucumber step definitions. Yeah, as you see, we can have, for example, in this case, we have Cucumber definitions. Given is a BDD, is Cucumber, and open is Selenide method. When is BDD and $ is Selenide method. Yes, we can combine them. We can use them together. I hope I have answered it. What is the best practice for navigating between pages within a test? We can see it in next slides when I will show page objects. What is best practice for running the same test against multiple browsers? Okay, good question. I also will answer it soon. If I forget, please remind me. So let me briefly show some Selenide highlights. I actually have already shown some of them, but let me just emphasize. So smart waiting, this is probably the biggest feature of Selenide. Any of these columns can wait a little bit. For example, if you write should be visible, Selenide will check if it's visible. And if it's not visible yet, Selenide will wait a little bit. By default for 4 seconds, let me go. And you can wait for pretty much anything. You can wait until element gets some text, until it's not selected, and even you can wait until element disappears. Again, all these methods can wait if needed. By default, up to 4 seconds, and if needed, this timeout can be configured. You can configure it using system property or directly in the code, no matter what. Oh, we have more questions here in this YouTube channel, but these are not questions, I guess. Okay, great. Do we have more questions here? No. Okay, let's continue. Error messages. When you write something like this, any check, Selenide tries to generate, and this test fails. Selenide tries to generate readable error message. It tries to clearly say what you expected and what actually happened, and which was the timeout, and so on. It also adds a screenshot and page source to the error message. I actually like this feature because this is why you do not need any other reports, kind of Allure and BDD and so on. When your test fails, you already have a link to the screenshot here. You just can click it, just see the screenshot, and do not need any other reports or anything. Collections, as I mentioned, $2 returns collection of elements, and you can check the size of this collection. You can check texts inside this collection and anything else. You can also filter collection. This is one more feature. You can select only visible elements, for example, from this collection. Actually, instead of visible, you can write any other condition. Selenide has a lot of conditions: checked, selected, not visible, and so on and so on. You can filter by any condition. And you can check that we have exactly 4 visible elements, for example, in this case. Yeah, this is so much about collections. Next feature is navigation. Navigation. Next question. Are there some common React-related pitfalls you know of? Yes, people often ask about Angular or React or Vue.js frameworks. I know that people often have problems with these frameworks, but actually I have one working project, real production project in Vue.js and one with React.js. We actually have UI tests for them and they work perfect. For me, I don't know any pitfalls. And this is because Selenide is universal. In this case, it just can wait for the next thing. If you click some button and think that the next thing should appear some header on some loading text, you can just wait for this text, no matter what framework is behind it. No matter is it React or Vue.js or anything else. Selenide is universal, it can wait for anything. And for me, it works stable. Yeah? I don't know any problems with Selenide and React. Yeah, this is the reason why you actually you also do not need Protractor. Protractor is a testing library for Angular.js. Because when you Selenide, you just don't need Protractor at all. Okay, the next topic is navigation. This is probably clear that you can find elements in some different ways. I personally like this syntax. You write $ and CSS selector. And probably most of us are familiar with CSS selector. This symbol means ID. But if you don't like it, you can write the longer option, kind of by.id. If it starts with dot, this is class, CSS class, and you can also have by class name. You can also write by name, and even by xpath. This $x, this is a separate method which looks by xpath. These all are synonyms. And we have more advanced methods. For example, sometimes you need to search element by attribute, and we have method by here. Yeah, you can find elements by different attributes, type, read only, and so on. You can find element by title, by value, and so on and so on. And this is one popular thing now. Test automation engineers often like to add testing attributes, test ID or data test ID. This is a special attribute which they put into production code, but it's used only for testing. And I really like this idea because it's safe. So it could look like something like that. We have in production code, we have some attributes for developers for working the code, and the special attribute for testing, which you can use in tests. So it's a nice idea. I recommend it to use if you have access to production code, of course. And even you can find the elements by text. We have a special method for writing element by the full text and by partial text. By text looks for entire string, and with text looks for substring. I never remember which one of them means what. But yeah, it's often a problem when you do not have some good locators, some good idea, or some good class to find the element, and then you can find it by text. Why not? If you're interested, these methods actually use xpath inside, but it's quite long and complex xpath. Okay, it's often it happens that it's hard to find some element because it's inside some table, inside some row, and you probably can't find it only by text, and you need to find another element from the same table, but the next row, something like that. In this case, you can use these Selenide methods. So parent returns parent element, closest returns some ground parent, matching the criteria. And this is a good way to find some elements in table, for example. For example, you can find some concrete place in the table, find the table containing it, find inside this table another row, for example, and find some another element inside this row. So this is a thing that allows you to write powerful searching algorithms for your tests. Reports. Let me see if you have more questions.
So the third question is definitely new, and I think that we were talking about navigation, but we didn't talk about navigation between pages within the test.
Yeah, we will talk about pages later, page objects. Yeah. Is there a configuration file I can use for setting up environment? Browser versions, Selenium grid URL. Shortly said, no. We do not have possibility to use some file. Actually, we have an open issue in GitHub, and we had a lot of discussions there. Probably it's closed now. We had a lot of discussions there, and we didn't have a single opinion. We had the different opinions. Currently, we haven't implemented, and the reason is because probably it doesn't give any benefits. Right now, you can do something like this. Kind of, if you have Selenium grid, for example, you can write here the URL of grid. How it looks like. And we are not sure that adding ability to read it from files gives really any benefits, because most probably you already have some file, configuration file. If you have really big framework, big configurable complex framework, then most probably you already have some file, and probably you already have some code which reads this file, because you have some other preferences there. You do not save only Selenide preferences in this file, right? You also will need to store some your connection database, some test user, and so on and so on. So most probably in any of your frameworks, you already have some code that reads configuration. So it's probably, it's not useful to Selenide to have one more code for reading the same files. But again, if you have some good ideas or good examples, please share them. You can easily create a new issue in Selenide and explain your ideas here. Why not? You are welcome always. You can write a new issue. You can write create a configuration file, whatever. You can explain why do you need it. You can give some example of such a file. You are welcome. We will discuss it. We will see it. Probably we will do it. Usually, this is just for background. Usually for me, if I see some feature that I understand that it's surely good, I can implement it quickly. Typically, it's not a problem to implement some feature. So most of time, most of thinking resources, I waste actually on thinking about features that I'm not sure about. I'm not sure if this is a good idea or not good idea. We are discussing it with other committers, and this is a thing that takes time. If we are sure that it's a good idea, we definitely can implement it quickly. Typically, it's not a problem. Okay, next question. In headless mode, using start maximized browser size, I'm not able to enlarge window. How to do it? Okay, let me show. Start maximized browser size. Selenide has two configuration options, which is by default false, and browser size, which is by default, I don't remember, not something like that. Yeah, by default, this is this option. And my recommendation is to do exactly this, not start maximizing and set explicitly some browser size. No matter if this is headless or not headless. Yeah, just to mention, Selenide has headless mode. By default, it's false. By default, it's false. And yeah, typically it can be a problem if you set headless true. It means that browser does not open a window. And in this case, start maximized kind of is undefined what it should mean. If you maximize a browser the browser window that it's not open, what exactly do you want to maximize? It's not defined exactly. Yeah, so for me, I recommend to not start maximized and actually to set explicitly browser size. If you need a big window, why not? You can set any big window, but not maximized. Why I don't like start maximized? If you talk about it, if you set start maximized true, from my experience, it's a bad idea because it leads to flaky tests. Because one developer can run it in his machine and it has, for example, smaller screen. Other developer can run it on his machine. And his machine has big size, big screen, and behavior of your test will become on the screen size. It can randomly fail on some machines. It's not a good idea. I personally had this experience. That's why I recommend, instead of start maximized, I recommend to set browser size explicitly. And it could be, probably it's a good idea, to set the minimum size that you support. probably in your application, you have some non-functional requirements, for example, to support at least like this screen. And I recommend to set the minimum size you support. Then your test will guarantee that your application works on the minimum screen possible. I hope that I answered the questions. Animated, what is the best practice for handling animated elements? Yeah, this is my favorite example. Animated elements. Let me show one video. Animated elements. Shortly said, flaky tests is my favorite topic. I often talk about flaky tests on different conferences. If I find it quickly. No, sorry, one moment. Okay, some titles are in Russian, but not a problem, I will comment it. This one example of a flaky test caused by exactly this thing, that some animation happened exactly at the moment of clicking. So it's called the green button. And we had one test. I stored video from this test. And what it does, it fills in zeros and try to click this green button. And that's it. It does not go further. The test kind of clicked the confirm button, but it does not get into the next page. Nothing happens. The test waits just for some time and fails with timeout, but does not get to the next page. But the click to the button did not fail. The click succeeded, actually. And it was a mystery for me for many years until I found a library called Video Recorder that can save a video from tests. And I saved this test, and I could look at it in the very slow motion. So let's look at it very, very slowly. The test fills for 0 here. Then test tries to click this green button. Nothing happens. Could you see it? Did you see it? What happens? Okay, let's look at it even more slower. Even more slow motion. Actually, currently the video shows the test, how the test runs 100 times slower. You can imagine how quickly it was in real life. So if you just see by your eyes, you will never see what happened actually. Only on a very slow video you can see it. So look behind now. Now the test will try to click the green button. Look behind. What happens now? You see? You see, for some moment, for a few milliseconds, this progress bar erased, this gray progress bar erased, and actually it covered half of this green button. And if you know, in Selenium, click does click exactly to the center of the element. And in this case, click went exactly to the progress bar. And after a couple of milliseconds, this progress bar disappeared. And then this test failed. And then we took a screenshot, and there was not any progress bars on the screenshot. So nobody could understand nothing, why the click didn't work. This was a mystery for me for a few years, actually, until I got this video. So yeah, my basic recommendation for handling such issues are the following. The first option is to disable animation. For some people, it can seem rude or basically wrong. Let me show a slide about this part. No, not this slide. Yeah, I have a separate presentation about flaky tests, and I have one slide about disabling animations. Let me show it. Oh, went too far. Interesting. But okay, nevertheless, one option is to disable animations, and another option oh shit, okay. And another option is to use smart click. Look, in Selenide, you can set such a setting called click via JS. If you set it to true, then Selenide will not use default Selenium click, but will click smartly. It will execute JavaScript to click element. And in this case, this click will be stable. It will not depend on some animations. It will not depend on coordinates of elements. It will just execute JavaScript, which always stably clicks elements. Probably it's even a good idea to always set this to true. I know that some folks do not like the idea of using JavaScript because it's not natural, but I don't think it's a bad idea. It's probably a good idea. I even think that we probably should use more JavaScript for different things, for pretty much all actions. It probably makes tests more stable. Okay, I hope I answered the questions. What is the best way to support the project itself? Coffee, cookies, beer, donations, pull requests. You're asking about supporting Selenide. Coffee, cookies. Okay, Selenide is an open source project, and of course, it's always a great help if you go to the project and create your own pull request for some new features. You can create new issues with like new ideas or report some problems. It's probably the most important part that you can do. And you can always, of course, look for issues that we need help in. For example, like you see, we have tagged with label help wanted, all these issues that we want you to help us. You can click this label and just find out all these issues. You can literally take any of them and start doing it if you wish. If you need any help with setting up the project, just ask me. I'm ready to help. Actually, I must write some page here on the README how to set up the project. It's easy. Actually, it's easy. It's as easy as this part, but yes, sometimes people do need help. Yeah, about donations, it's a good question. We don't have donations right now, and the reason why we do not have donations is that I'm not sure how to spend them, and I'm just afraid that probably it will kill the spirit of open source. Probably some folks will start thinking, these guys are getting money for this. I don't know. I'm just probably afraid of this. Do you will support to find out count of pending asynchronous HTTP requests? We do not have such issue. Yes, I know that often people do check the count of requests to be sure that the page is loaded, is completely loaded. We do not have such feature right now because probably it's not needed. Because probably when you write in Selenide something like this line, but checking for HTTP request is kind of implementation details. I believe that tests should not be tied to implementation details too much. Instead, I recommend to understand what should be the next thing when the page is loaded. In most cases, it's, for example, some header of page or number of loaded elements, for example. in this case, when you write that this header should have text, or actually we could here should be visible, this means that the page is loaded, no matter what HTTP requests are going there. In most cases, I recommend doing this stuff and not checking any HTTP requests. In very rare cases, you need to look inside and look some requests, probably in case of some security issues and so on. Okay, about running in different browsers, I will, this is similar to this, I will answer later. Okay, let's go on. Reports. When you run tests, you probably need to have some reports in the end. And Selenide has built-in simple report. We call it text report. In the end of test, it prints out a report like this, and you see all the actions. And for me, the most important part, how long they were, how much time did it take this action. This is when we introduced this feature, and I run it in my real-life project. First of all, I found that in every test, in the beginning of every test, we did 2 times open. And the first open took many time, almost 5 seconds. And it took 5 seconds in the beginning of every test. Apparently, it was not needed, apparently. And yes, when we refactored our tests to not do open twice, we made our test much more faster. This is, okay, this example of test report. How to include it, you just need to add one more annotation for your tests. Kind of rule, text report. The problem, yeah, and by default, it takes, by default, it reports, it creates such a report only on failed tests. And you can configure it a little bit. You can say that please take it always, and so on and so on. But the problem is with this rule is that it's testing framework specific. In this case, rule is JUnit 4. We also have such a similar rule for JUnit 5. There is not, it's not called rule, but it's called some extension, I guess. And we have also similar mechanism for test in G. It's called listener, text report listener. But yes, unfortunately, we have support only for these 3 testing frameworks right now. Probably we can add more reports, more frameworks. And if you still believe that text reports is not sufficient, you can use some more rich reports. For example, the most popular one nowadays is Allure. It's really easy to add support for Allure reports in your tests. You just need to import Allure project, Allure dependency to your project. And in the beginning of test, just call this line, Selenide logger at listener. This part is Selenide one. Selenide kind of allows you to add any listeners to it. And this is Allure part. Allure has a special extension for Selenide, which can gather all the steps from Selenide and show in the report. And this is how Allure report looks like. This is our well-known Google search test, and it shows which steps we actually did, which things we actually clicked, and if some step failed, it is red, and Allure has attached screenshot and page source. So again, for me, this is my personal opinion. It's really nice, it's really beautiful, but it does not give any more information compared to just simple text report. So I personally do not think that it's really useful. But if you like it, it's find it useful, why not? We can do it. Again, we have a working example. Let me show. Selenide examples, Allure, I guess we have here. We have working example here, which actually does work. You can find the information here that you just need to add Allure adapter in your project. And you just add where it is. Okay, it's a little bit old example. I need to update it a little bit, sorry. But yeah, you will find here a working example soon. Okay, questions? No. Oh yeah, I agree. Should not exist. Looks cool, yeah. But actually, you need to be smart with it. Sometimes should not exist can lead to false positive. So if you write a wrong locator, let me show it. If you write something like that, should not exist, this test will be green, while this is just a wrong selector. So you need to be smart with it, and probably to avoid such things, it's a good idea to extract this thing to some kind of constant, and be sure that you always use the same constant in some other tests that checks that this actually exists. This way you can be sure that this is a correct selector. Okay, let's go on. The next feature is fast set value. It's a little bit already advanced tricks with Selenide. Selenium has default method for typing in text into text value, text input fields, which is called send keys. It has two problems. First of all, it's slow because it emulates key press for every key. If you type in some long word, it just takes time, especially on remote browsers. And sometimes it doesn't work correctly, probably if element is invisible, or if Selenium thinks that it's invisible. If element has some mask or some other tricky JavaScript and so on, or some component like date picker, select picker, and so on, sometimes send keys doesn't work. And here, JavaScript comes to rescue. So we have an option to type values in using JavaScript. We call it fast set value. You can enable it by system set property or directly in code. And in this case, set value method uses JavaScript, not send keys, which is much faster. Let me demonstrate how it works. I have one nice video. Huge form. Yeah, we have a huge form here, which has about 100 fields. And let's try to fill it with both way. You see, in the left, we will see send keys or kind of slow set value, and in the right, we will have fast set value. Let's see what's the difference. You see. Nice, right? In the left, we use the default Selenium send keys, which types keys one by one. And in the right, we have fast set value true, which sets the value using JavaScript. You see how faster is it. I really like this example. This is demonstration while fast set value is really good. When we enabled it in my real life project, all the test run took 1/3 less, 30% less. And so now you can choose. If you, in most cases, I suggest you that probably it's a good idea to enable fast set value, and in most cases use method set value, which is fast. And sometimes you still can use the old good method send keys, which doesn't use JavaScript. And probably it sometimes can be useful if JavaScript is not working for some reason. It could be auto-completion or auto-formatting or some tricky JavaScript or whatever. In those places, you can still use send keys. But in most cases, I recommend to use set value using JavaScript, then it's much more faster and stable. And the same goes for click via JavaScript. It's basically the same idea. The next topic is working with files. Let me check the questions. No new questions here. Cool. I need to speed up to complete our presentation soon. So working with files, Selenide has some methods for uploading files and even, surprise, surprise, to upload multiple files. Yeah, we actually had to do some JavaScript tricks to do it, to implement it. A big and complex part is downloading files. Selenide has method download. We need to find some button. We clicks it and downloads it and returns already a file object. So you do not need to go to some downloads folder to search for the file. Do not click to some OK buttons in some native dialogues. No, nothing like this. Just call download method and get the file. And then you can be sure that file already exists. But you can only check the file name or content. So it's pretty much easier. Let me mention that for downloading files, we have different mechanisms, like using HTTP request or using proxy server, but this is a big topic. You can find the full description of this topic in our blog. If you are interested, how Selenide does download files. Here it's described. So let me go to the next topic. Parallelization. Okay. There was 2 questions about parallelization. In Selenide, you can run tests in parallel because Selenide holds a separate browser for every thread. So you can run tests in 2 threads, on 3 threads, on 100 threads, no problem. If one thread is the first test in one thread does these commands, and another test in another thread does these commands, it's not a problem because yellow commands get their own WebDriver from their thread local, and blue commands get their own WebDriver from their thread local. So these tests can run in parallel, no problems. The next advanced trick is extendability. You can extend Selenide with your own checks. Conditions, we call them conditions. For example, if you imagine that you want to check that some element has some CSS value, and for example, Selenide doesn't have such built-in condition, then you can create your own condition. To do it, you just need to extend class condition. You create subclass of condition. You can even use anonymous class, inner classes. You can create new condition with some name, which will be seen in reports. And you need to increment one single method, apply. Given and web element, you can check that this web element conforms to the condition. In this case, you can just check that value is the right value. So it's easy to extend Selenide with your own conditions. Some folks call it even kind of DSL or tool for creating DSL for your project, because probably every project is unique and has its own set of its specific conditions, specific to your business, to your application. It's probably a good idea to create some set of your specific conditions. And you can also create your custom commands. For example, if you have some tricky command is specific for your application. For example, double click. In every element of your application, probably typical click doesn't work, and you need to always use double click, for example. Then you can just create a helper method. It's the most simple variant. You can create helper method, double click, and call it everywhere in all your tests. But in Selenide, you have one nicer option. You can kind of, or you would wish to create a method of Selenide element, double click, but you can, and in this case, why this is better, because you can, again, use Fluent API. You can call these methods in one line. Unfortunately, doing exactly like this is not possible in Java. It's possible in Kotlin and Groovy, but not in Java. adding methods, new methods to existing class. Unfortunately, it's not possible in Java, but in Selenide, we have done almost the same. We actually created method execute. In Selenide, you have method execute, and you can pass pretty much any command you wish. You can create your own commands and pass them to the execute method, thus doing any actions with Selenide elements. To implement a command, you just again need to implement interface command with exactly one method. So it's easy. Some folks today said me that introducing execute method was a game changer. Many people started using this method pretty much and started creating a whole libraries of their own methods, which is again kind of DSL for their projects. What else? Browser, different browsers. Yeah, this is the answer for the next check for the next question. Do we have a lot of time? Sorry for my questions. Probably all
we have time until somebody just kick us out of YouTube, so we have time.
Okay, good. I hope to finish soon. Sorry for too long presentation. Yeah? So different browsers. You can run, of course, tests in different browsers. By default, Selenide runs tests in Chrome because it seems that Chrome at least was the fastest and the most stable browser. And if you need to, you can run it. You can run browsers in another browser. You can do it by system property, like this. Or you can do it in Java code directly, but yes, most probably you need to have this configurable if you have requirement to run the tests in different browsers. So yeah, hardly you do it like this to pass this is command line, but in most cases you have build Gradle or POM XML, right? In most of projects. And I recommend to create different tasks or profiles for running tests in different browsers. This is exactly the answer for the questions in slide 1. For example, this is what I do in my projects, including Selenide itself. I have a different task for Chrome browser, and you see I set the system properties inside this task. I have different tasks for Firefox and so on for all the browser possible. And when I have these tasks, I can run tests with such commands: Gradle Chrome, Gradle Firefox, Gradle E. And this is simple and easy way for running tests in different browsers. People often ask about parallelization. Yes, this way it's really easy to run these jobs or these tasks in parallel or consequently as you wish. It's up to you. It's up to your Jenkins how do you run them. I hope I have answered this question about running the same test against multiple browsers. Probably I can even show the Selenide project itself. In Selenide project, we have, you see, test Gradle. And we have different tasks for Internet Explorer, for Edge, for Chrome headless, and so on. And when I want to execute Selenide tests, I just am writing, oops, one moment. Yeah, I just write Gradle. I'm in the wrong place, sorry. I just run this command and execute tests in Chrome headless. If I want to run tests in parallel in Firefox, for example, then I just open another terminal window and at the same time can run them in Firefox, for example. You see my tests are running in parallel, no problems. The same applies for Jenkins. I can have 2, 3, 4 jobs in Jenkins, each running tests in its own browser, no problems. So I answered This question too, I think. Yeah. Okay. And page objects will be the last one. Yeah. Let me stop the tests. Okay, let's continue with slides. No, yeah. Another option is to set browser directly in code, but yeah, probably you don't need it. And the popular question is how to use some custom WebDriver or some Chrome or Firefox or another browser with some custom profile, custom settings. Yes, Selenide does allow it. You can just implement WebDriver provider interface. This is an interface with one single method. I will show it. And you just need to see configuration browser is and class name of your provider. That's it. It's easy. And your provider will look like this. It must implement WebDriver provider. And it must implement one single method, create driver. In the most simple case is just to return new Chrome driver. But of course, typically you need to set more options there. That's why you typically will write something like that. You can set any properties, options, profiles, and so on, whatever you wish. Yeah, just let me just mention that we have a GitHub page organization, Selenide examples, where we have working compilable examples of using Selenide with different frameworks or for testing different real-life applications. This is testing of one game, Google search, Gmail, and one real internet bank, and so on. But we also have examples of using Selenide with some other frameworks like Arpium for using mobile, test containers, Allure, Cucumber, and so on and so on. We have a lot of examples. Yeah, and just to mention that Selenide can be used with any Java language, JVM language, like of Java, Kotlin, Scala, Groovy, Clojure, and so on. And yeah, .NET I will show later. Page objects, probably your favorite topic. Let me check if we have questions. Yeah, it's page objects. It's the next question. Page objects. It's possible to write page objects in Selenide, and it's much more easier than a classical Selenium page object. Let me show the difference. The most simple way to write page object in Selenide is just to write object and just to write method in it. That's it. So my primary message is that to create page objects, you do not need any frameworks at all. These are just objects, nothing more. Page object is just an object. It need to have just methods. That's it. You see how easy it is to write page objects in Selenide. People are used to call page factories, find by annotation, and so on and so on. But actually, it's not really needed in most cases. Let me show it. So yeah, this is the most easy, straightforward, readable page object in Selenide. You do not need to call any factories, no annotations, no, just code, just code. You are a coder, just code. But well, okay, sometimes people are afraid that they are not allowed to duplicate some code. They are not allowed to duplicate this queue selector, for example, if they happen to use it in several methods. Okay, no problems. Again, you do not need any frameworks, any factories to extract the duplicated value to a field. Just extract it. Just do a simple extraction, refactoring, no problem. Just extract the duplicated constant and reuse it in several methods, no problem. You do not need any implementations to do it. It's just easy. You are a developer, just develop it, no problems. Okay, well, sometimes people want to have it with class web element, not by. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that the initialization of this page object is easy. Just call new methods, that's it. Nothing more is needed, no factories, no magic. Yeah, sometimes people want to have it with type Selenide element, not by. I don't know why, but okay, it's possible. Just declare Selenide element and it works. Again, no problems. And this is how people are used to declare patch objects. They are used to find by annotations. Again, I think that it's not really needed, but if you still want it, okay, no problems. You can declare find by notation. Selenide does support it occasionally, but in this case, you will need help of page factories to initialize those find by fields. You need to apply some magic to initialize them, and that's why we have method page inside element. Page does exactly this. It creates this page object and initialize all these fields marked with find by annotation. So this is a little bit complex, but it works, no problems. And you can also declare components or containers inside page objects. You can compose page objects from other page objects or containers. It's also easy in Selenide. Again, in the simplest case, you do not need any support to do it. It just works like this. Yeah, that's why I typically say that containers are not really needed in practically all cases. But yes, just to mention, we will actually will even have class elements container that allows you to declare more sophisticated containers, but probably it's not needed in most cases. Can you recommend? Yeah, I will briefly read aloud the question. Can you read another implementation of Selenium Grid, which is better based on stability, scaling, and feature capability? Sure. Yes, as you know, probably there are 3 implementations. Okay. As much as I know, there are 3 well-known implementations of Selenium Grid. The first one is Selenium Grid, which is created by Selenium authors, and which is probably, I personally do not have much of experience with it, but as I know, it's quite slow and unstable. People are saying. There is another one which is called Selenium. This is quite new. It's created, I guess, by the same people, but later probably they did something better. But again, I don't know. I haven't tried. And there is a tool called Selenide, which I really recommend. This is a tool which is the same idea, which implements the same idea as the Selenium Grid. So Selenide can run a lot of browsers for you in parallel, but it implemented perfectly. It's implemented Go language. It's really fast. It eats much more less memory than Selenium Grid. It doesn't lose connections and so on and so on. And it actually runs browsers inside containers, so they are independent. They can start quickly. They have, each browser has its own screen, its own video, and screenshots, and so on and so on. So they don't intercept each other. So I can recommend Selenide for sure. They also have examples of using Selenide with Selenoid. It's a very similar name. So yeah, this is my recommendation. Do we have more questions? No. Okay, let's go on. Oh, another question in YouTube channel chat. We have been using Selenide in MasterCard for the last 10 months. It's much more easier than Selenium. It helps a lot. Thank you for awesome job. Okay, thank you very much. It's great for me to read such feedback. Yeah, thank you. So probably almost the last part is Selenide for mobile. It was a surprise for many people that actually Selenide can be used not only for web but also for testing mobile devices, mobile applications. They have 2 versions of how to do it: simple and advanced. Simple is without annotations, and the point yeah, this is a working example. Selenide examples using Selenide with Appium. I will show it right now. Yeah, let me show it right now. We have, again, in the same GitHub Selenide examples, we have Selenide Appium. To run these examples, you will need to run Android emulator or iOS simulator, and you will need to run Appium. I will not explain what it is. Appium can be executed like this, Appium, and it runs in the background by default. So I have emulator and Appium, and now I can run these tests. I will explain the code a little bit later, but let's look how it runs. Using Appium, it actually starts the mobile application inside the emulator. And for Selenide, this mobile application is like another browser. Using $, using open, you can start this application. Using $, you can find some elements inside this application and so on. I don't know why it starts so long. Yeah, this is a problem with Appium. Sometimes it hangs, sometimes it cannot start server and so on and so on. This is why I dislike Appium actually. Probably I can restart it quickly. No. Wait. Okay, I have restarted Appium server. Now probably we will get better testing run. Yeah. Why I dislike the system is it makes the test kind of more complex. We now have multiple components. We have Android emulator, we have Appium server, which is executed on Node.js. It does need some installation of Node modules and so on and so on. So it's kind of complex system. Shit, okay. We need to restart Appium and Android emulator time to time. Right now it cannot run. Okay. Okay, let's not waste time on doing it. Let's go on. Where is my slides? Here it is. And the more advanced example is using annotations. We created the Selenide extension for Appium. It's a separate project, divided with a separate jar. The first option looks like this. A simple test without any annotation, just using $. Looks like this. And this is a real test for mobile application, for calculator. It actually works, no problems. So you see how easy it is. Yeah. Besides these problems with Appium server and Node.js. But looking at this test, people often ask, can they reuse the same test for web application and mobile application? If probably they have the same logic. And for solving this problem, we created the advanced project, Selenide with Appium with annotations. How it looks like, this time you can create page object, you can declare a field and mark it with all these annotations. Find by when you happen to test web application, Android find by for Android application, and iOS find by for iOS application. This way you can reuse the same page object for all these tests, web tests and mobile tests. And to make it possible, we created a separate project which has a smart page factory which can initialize such a page object. This is just an example of another page which has more elements. And we have, in this project, we have method screen similar to page, which creates a mobile page object. we called it screen. And the further test is simple as a typical web test. So, and this is all about Selenide features. And in the end, I will talk shortly about Selenide history and some background. Let me check questions. No new questions. Okay, great. Just a couple of words about Selenide history, how it was created and why. It started in the year 2011. Before this time, I also had experience of writing UI tests, but we did write UI tests in Ruby using Vatir and Vatir Splash frameworks. I personally didn't like Ruby because of all these troubles with Ruby versions, Ruby gems, and so on and so on. It was hard to install Ruby on Windows and so on. Ruby itself as a syntax is nice, but all this infrastructure is ugly for me. And year 2011, we heard that some people created Selenium WebDriver, which was written in Java, and we tried it in one real project, and we liked it. So at some moment, we found that in our project, in real project, we have some kind of helper methods that take screenshots, that can wait for some condition. And we could kind of reuse these helper methods in other projects. Later this year, I went to one conference to speak about tests and UI tests and unit tests. This is my favorite topic. And it just seemed to me a good idea, not to just talk about UI tests, but also to show how to run UI tests. And I started thinking, okay, it would be great to extract some reusable parts of my working project to a separate project, to a library. And I extracted it to GitHub called Selenide. But it was not popular yet. I did not promote it somehow at that time. But what I did instead, after some few months, I tried to use Selenide in another project. And what was surprise for me that I quickly found that it was completely unusable. It was impossible to use Selenide in another project. It was not convenient API. It was not convenient names. It was not convenient configuration and so on and so on. So I had to refactor it. This time it looked like much better. I thought that now it's reusable. Now it's a good API. And then I started to, I tried it in another project, and I again found that it's unusable. Surprise, surprise, it was completely unusable. Not convenient API. Then I refactored it again. Then I tried to use it in another project which used another language, Scala, not Java. And I found it again, it's unusable in Scala. I refactored it. Then I asked my colleagues to try this Selenide in another project, in their project. They also reported that, oh shit, it's not usable. I mean, not convenient, not really nice, not really convenient. They had to create their own tricks or some hacks or some helper methods for Selenide. Then again, I refactored it. And so it went for about a year or 2 years probably. And this is probably the most important part of this project. It was developed like this. I had to refactor it many, many times until it got more or less reusable, more or less convenient to use. This was kind of hard time, but yes, it was important. And yeah, here it went. Then year 12, I created my first publication on Hubbard. This is a very popular site in Russia. I created an article or blog post in Hubbard in Russian about Selenide, and yes, people started trying it, started criticizing it also, of course. And the most, one funny site this year I found in Twitter, one man wrote that, look, these funny guys created free classes and call them a framework. Funny. this guy was really skeptical about Selenide. And this was true at that time, actually. The Selenide was actually really small. And to be honest, I was not sure if it's really needed by somebody. I was not sure if probably there are already some existing libraries that already solve this problem. I was not sure. I just didn't know how to find them, how to Google them. And yeah, I was uncertain actually about my actions. But what then happened, one important thing. At the year 2013, one guy from Kiev, from Ukraine, which organizes Selenium Camp conference there, called me to Selenium Camp to present Selenide there. And when I came there, this was kind of surprise for me. I started hearing here and there, everywhere, complaints about Selenium. I started hearing presentations about typical problems of Selenium, how to wait for something in Selenium, and so on and so on. It was full of pain from everywhere. And at this moment, I realized that, wow, great, Selenide actually does solve all these problems. This was exact match, perfect match. I came just to tell people that I have solved most of their problems. It was kind of magic for me. It was beautiful. Yeah. And then started. I created the first publication in English in magazine Methods and Tools, and then Games. 2 years later, I presented Selenide in USA, in Portland, in Selenium conference, and yeah, here it goes. But until now, for some reason, until now, the most of Selenide users, it seems to me, most of Selenide users are from Russia or Ukraine, or in other words, Russian speaking. And I always wanted to kind of create more users in English-speaking countries, or no, in non-Russian countries. And I am not sure how successful it was. But at least I see the difference when I came to Selenium Camp and present Selenide there, then a lot of people do come and talk about it and ask about it. But when I came, for example, to Selenium Conf in Portland, not at all. Quite a few people came, just asked one question, and that's all. For some reason, people do not show any interest, not really much interest against it. I don't know why. I'm not sure. It's a mystery for me. So what's nowadays? You asked me how Selenide lives nowadays after it got popular. Aha, okay. 2 questions about future of Selenide. One moment, I will talk it. So you asked me how Selenide lives now, just because at the very beginning it was a kind of one-man project for some time. Actually, some of my colleagues added something, but not too much. And at some moment I realized that first of all, it's hard to me personally to review all the issues, all the pull requests. I just do not have so much resources, not even time, right? Mind resources, just to think so much about it. And I realized that we need more people to be involved. And I started inviting some committers. Now we have 5 committers. Every one of them has rights to commit, to push to the repository, to review pull requests, to reject them, to accept them. And I feel really good about it. I feel like it's not a one-man project. It's not only me, but there is several members, and I like it really. If at some moment I disappear, I believe they can continue on this thing. And just to mention, these people are from different countries, so I don't know if it's important. If in the very beginning I committed everything to master and I broke the build very often, so now we have GitHub flow, we have pull requests, we have code review. Even me personally, when I do changes in Selenide, I actually create a pull request. Let me show. I actually create a pull requests and wait until some of my other committers do review it and merge it. So yeah, and for every pull request, you see we run automated tests here. So this thing shows that we executed all the automated tests in Jenkins, not Jenkins, but Travis CI, but it's not important. And only when the all checks are passed, only then we can merge the pull request. So we kind of have enterprise process in Selenide. Yeah, and we have quite a big communities in Gitter, in Slack, in Telegram, in Twitter. It was interesting for me that at some moment I started finding some articles, blog posts about Selenide in Portuguese language, in I don't remember exactly, probably Spanish, probably no, English, of course. And at some moment there started coming quite a lot of posts in Japan, from Japan. Yeah, it seems that we have quite a big Selenide community in Japan, but it seems to be a closed community. They do not really communicate with us a lot. Only sometimes I find them on Google. And just as a, okay, then now I will answer this question. Will you try to add artificial intelligence into Selenide? For example, yeah. My short answer is that I don't really believe in artificial intelligence. Machine learning, I think what I actually see that nowadays machine learning is a thing that is sold well. Many of those tools like Report Portal and so on, they sell well because they say that they do machine learning, but I do not really believe into this. I actually tend to create a convenient and simple tool for people to allow people they use their brain power. I believe in people brain, not in machine learning. I just want to free up your brain from all this technical stuff, and so you can concentrate on business logic and you solve real problems, not just technical boring problems. I believe in that. It doesn't mean that we cannot do artificial intelligence. Probably we can. Probably why not? If we have some good ideas. But at the moment, I really do not see such ideas. I know that there are frameworks, kind of here, Selenium, for example. It's a fresh framework which is created to automatically heal your broken tests, automatically fix your broken locators. But I honestly don't really believe into that. I don't think it's kind of good idea. I'm just skeptical. Probably I'm just old and skeptical. But what we can do instead, what we probably will do, is to creating some smart mechanism for analyzation of failures. For example, actually we have an open issue for that. For example, if you're trying to find some element, button, and try to click it, okay, sorry. So can you see the code? For example, if you tried to click some button and the test failed because the button is hidden. But what I actually would like to do, what we can do, we can actually analyze that actually there are two such buttons on the page, and the first one is hidden. The second one is visible. And probably you wanted to click the second one. And this is what we can do. Selenide error can actually say that, hey man, look, probably we have multiple buttons here. I probably want this one. This is what we can do, and we will probably do. It will people help to quickly analyze and understand the problem. But actually, I do not call it artificial intelligence. It's probably just a little bit of intelligence, just a little bit of help for people. but I don't want to be the man to call it machine learning. It's too loud for me. Okay, what is the future of Selenide? Support of image comparison, artificial intelligence, and other fancy ideas. Again, I want to implement any fancy ideas that you can suggest. No problems, let's do it. Even machine learning, no problems, just suggest some ideas, we will do it. Image comparison, probably we do not need to do it again because there are already some frameworks doing it. For example, there is a library, Ashot, which can compare different screenshots. There also a framework called Apply Tools, which can compare failed tests and their screenshots. So we probably do not to reinvent the wheel, to do the same thing. I do not want. What I want to do is to implement the same idea differently, probably much more simpler way, probably much more easier way. If we have such an idea, then we do it, of course. One more thing about future of Selenide is that we are going to create a plugin system or some extension system, so that everyone can add his own plugins, which in some sense can override some Selenide behavior. For example, if you do not like how Selenide does screenshots, you can add your own plugin which overrides mechanism of taking screenshots, which takes screenshots differently. We are going to do it. Yeah. So, and again, it's up to you. Please report us any of your ideas. What parts would you like to overwrite? What plugins would you need? We will do it. So I'm kind of waiting for your ideas. And the last part is just to say out a few things that I'm proud about. When I will be old and my children or children of my children will ask, Grandpa, what you did in your life, I will show these slides to them. Now Selenide is 8 years old, and now we have several frameworks based on Selenide or built up on Selenide. One of them is Akita, is framework from Alpha Bank for creating BDD, for writing BDD. Another is Neodymium. I will just shortly say out. Test UI is one more for testing Appium, mobile devices, and so on. Selenium automation bundle. This one is just test Lach. Yeah. You know, many of them are focused on testing mobile. Yeah? Mobile. It's a hot topic nowadays. And the last one that I found recently was Masquerade. I found that there is something called Cuba platform, whatever it means. And Cuba platforms has its own testing library based on Selenide. Cool. I can be proud on it, right? One more thing that I am proud about is recently JetBrains released a separate plugin, dedicated plugin for, say, IntelliJ IDE, which includes support for Selenide. And they even, this is description of this plugin, and we can even have, we can even see screenshots of this plugin where we see the Selenide code. This is really cool for me. They actually added ability to validate locators on the fly and suggest better locators and so on and so on. So it's really cool for me. It's kind of game changer. It is huge. It's a small step for humanity, but it's a huge step for me. Yeah. And we even have some ports of Selenide to other languages. For example, to PHP. A port means that some other guys created totally separately their own framework, which is similar to Selenide, which is kind of clone of Selenide. On PHP, on JavaScript, and even .NET, we have several implementations for .NET. what there was, and there was Python, also Python. I forgot it. Yeah. And the last thing to be proud about is statistics of downloads. This is how many times Selenide is downloaded per month, every month. Yeah, and this is the last month we crossed 130,000 per month. This is a huge number. I remember the times when I show it on my presentations, the similar image where I had a raise from 1,000 to 1,700. And that time I thought that, oh, this is a great success. You see how different it's now. So it's cool for me. And just the last word, you are welcome to Tallinn. Tallinn in some sense is similar to Prague, but it has its own specifics. For example, this is a kind of Russian style church, and this is European style churches. And we have beautiful sea. So in summer, you are welcome to Tallinn. It's a nice city. Yeah, so thank you for your attention. Probably if you have some more questions, I will answer. Here is no more questions. No more questions.
So thank you, Andrei, for this presentation. You are probably not only the first author of framework I see in my real life, but also the only person who wants to show PowerPoint presentation to grandchildren. I like it very much. I was laughing. And I have to warn you because I like this idea of having some meetup about flaky tests. And I like the example you had in the presentation. So I think that if you agree, we are not seeing each other for the last time. So once more, thank you for your time and for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.